Hello everybody, Chris Samardich, Brotherhood of Light Show, current YouTube channel, and this week's psychedelic music and art show is based on an event that's going to go on, and it's October 21st, 2023, the Rock Poster Show at San Francisco, a house on 9th Street in Golden Gate Park. And it's the Hall of Flowers. So that's what's going to be happening this weekend coming up. So I thought I'd do a show about the psychedelic artists of San Francisco. So here's the show, tribute to the San Francisco poster artists with their incredible classic rock art. And as you can see here on this first slide, we've got the 5 original poster artists from San Francisco, known as the Big Five. We've got to the left Alton Kelley, Victor Moscoso, Rick Griffin, and Stanley Mouse to the right, and Wes Wilson in the black shirt. So these guys originally did the artwork, and I'm going to have 10 artists in total on this show. So I got 5 more. Now all these artists were original artists back in the 60s that did the Avalon and Fillmore posters, and Fillmore West and Fillmore East also, and then they moved on to continue to do album covers and all kinds of art to this day, the ones that are still alive. So let's check it out. So what we have here is on the upper left-hand corner, we got Chet Helms and Bill Graham, and they were the original promoters at the old Fillmore on Fillmore Street. And they hired these light show artists, these poster artists, to draw these advertisement posters, like similar to the one that Alton in the middle is holding, the famous Grateful Dead poster. And of course I have posters behind me of shows I've done with these bands, Bill and Chet. Bill had the Fillmore, the lease on the Fillmore. Chet had the Family Dog Presents company that had the artists and the musicians, and they, for the first 3 or 4 months in '66 when the place opened, they were doing co-headline bills where Chet would do a couple shows and then Bill would do a show and every other weekend. And then after Chet left and went and got the Avalon Ballroom, and this was the Family Dog, and here's a bunch of the artists that are in these pictures. So I just thought I'd give you a little reference on a little bit of history. So we're going to hit the artists next here. So our first artist is Wes Wilson. There he is. He's doing his famous Stars and Stripe swastika poster. And so this Batman poster is the second poster Bill did at the Fillmore. And the Jefferson Airplane and Paul Butterfield are Family Dog Chet posters that Wilson did. And then soon after that, Bill did his own gigs at the Fillmore, and Chet moved on to the Avalon. But the most famous poster of all is Here Comes the Beatles at Candlestick Park, and Wes did that. And that is a super rare, famous poster, and that because it's the last live Beatles concert ever. So that's an amazing poster. And there's a Jefferson Airplane, Grateful Dead. Now they started doing color, and you can see on this one on the right-hand corner, you can see his lettering, how he does these kind of curves that come in and end up making letters out of boxes. Definitely his style right here of lettering. Now this one with the naked girl that's above him and right to the left of me was the last show he did for Bill. There was some kind of financial dispute. He's showing Bill's wife pregnant. He's showing Bill on the right hand side. He's showing a snake with a dollar bill. It's And it's obviously reflecting the situation with him and Bill Graham Presents. And he drops out and moves on to do other art. So that's just a fun story. So here's our next artist, Bonnie Mclean. Rest in peace. She's passed away recently. And she was Bill Graham's wife and the mother of David Graham, who's in the picture with her, and she's signing posters. And so when Wes left, she took over, basically, and you can see her poster art. She's an artist, and she has a little different lettering style, and she always kind of uses people's faces or images of people, pretty much, or Byrd in that case, in her stuff. So she was great, colorful stuff, and she bailed out Bill. I think she did posters for probably a year for him, off and on, and continued on as an artist for the rest of her life. So anyway, Bonnie Mclean, number 2 artist. So here we got Victor Moscoso, and you can see he does really colorful, unique art, and it's kind of hard to read, but that's his style. He did the Steve Miller album covers, and he did a lot of stuff for the Matrix and the Avalon. I don't think he did too much for Bill, but he's got a really nice kind of soft edge style and really a nice color palette. Kind of hard to read, but definitely more of an elegant look than the ultra psychedelic. And now this one on the right is kind of like really representative of his style. He kind of like to do that 3D double color thing, kind of RGB color. But anyway, that's Victor Moscoso, and he was one of the big 5. So you've probably heard Stanley Mouse art a lot. They were teamed up, Stanley Mouse and Alton Kelley. Alton Kelley, rest in peace. There he is on the lower guy there. Stanley's still kicking and around. Anyway, they ended up doing, they would work together, and I don't know exactly all their pieces that were joint efforts, but I believe most of them were. They had a studio together, and they started out and they did this original Avalon Ballroom, Grateful Dead, Skull and Roses, Family Dog on the left, and they did a bunch of album covers. They did this Journey Escape, Rolling Thunder, Mickey Hart, Journey World Tour, Grateful Dead book, Styx, Journey Infinity. So these guys not only did the psychedelic posters, they did a lot of album artwork. They were hired by, Warner Brothers and many labels to do their incredible album covers. So here is Alton Kelley when he was a young man. They did the Grateful Dead album cover over there on the left, a debut album by the Grateful Dead. Alton did the Egypt poster, and he also did this Fungo Mungo, which I did that show, and that was originally supposed to be a cover for Rock Scully's Living with the Dead book. Now the Skull and Roses with the blue background here, they did a giant version of this, and they silk screened it, and Mouse did these classic blue background, but Kelley just did the black, and then he did all magic marker, did his coloration that way with the black background. And so they were, in the 2000s, they were still doing art together, at least in that form. Now these two on the left here are both the same concert, and they're for Phil Lesh and Friends, and the one on the left is Stanley Mouse with the Mouse guitar player guy, and then the flying eyeball is Alton's. So you can see the difference, and Alton does that lettering has like a chrome look to it. He does that chrome airbrush. It makes it look three-dimensional, kind of was a master at that. So let's check out another page coming up here. So this is more or less a Stanley Mouse page. He did the boot with the rainbow and the smashing ice cream head. That is Europe 72. Airbrush work. He did the Zigzag Man. I think that might be an Alton Kelley. He did the Cream poster at Winterland, which is from Wheels of Fire concert. And then the final Winterland show with the Grateful Dead and Blues Brothers, and that might be a combination of both those guys, because it looks like the chrome airbrush work of Alton, but probably the rose and layout work of Mouse. And then these Journey and Grateful Dead album covers, Steve Miller, Ace, Working Man's Dead. You can see all these album covers they did. So these guys really stepped it up into a commercial area. So let's check out our next artist. So, Rick Griffin, rest in peace, died in a motorcycle accident. Everybody's favorite, one of the most talented artists with one of the most unique typesets. You can see on this Jimi Hendrix, John Mayall poster, or this Grateful Dead, just this amazing psychedelic lettering and just wonderful work. The Flying Eyeballs, probably one of the most famous posters. There's a comic book he did, which is just amazing. This Doors poster from Family Dog in Denver, The Who and Grateful Dead in San Francisco, and this Iron Butterfly. The Grateful Dead, Jerry Garcia's favorite artist, Rick Griffin, my favorite artist. Everybody, most all the guys in the light show business love him. Just seems to have such a great aesthetic, and he's also was doing some commercial other bands, a Sea Hags cover and Cold Blood, and he did some work for the Cult before he passed away. So he was one of the greatest. We'll sorely miss him. Okay, so we're going to go to the East Coast, even though it says San Francisco artist on the first slide. And we're going to hit David Edward Byrd. David Byrd, who worked at the Fillmore East. He did that Fillmore East gangster program cover. He did the album cover for Tommy. He did the Woodstock poster, which is a classic right there. And he also did this great Jimi Hendrix poster and the Joshua Light Show and Tommy performance at Fillmore East. And he went on to do all kinds of album covers and artwork and become a commercial rock artist in LA. And Bill did not hire him to do, he did a lot of like paste up stuff for them, but Fillmore East only had a few, like 4 or 5 psychedelic posters that were like the San Francisco ones. But here's 2 great examples. And of course the Woodstock one is just a classic. That art lives on still. So this guy is really famous. So I had to mention him. I mean, he's one of the greats. Now we got David Singer art. And you can see he kind of came in later. When it went to the Fillmore West. And you can see he has this really unique kind of thin line typeset. And even though there's 3 Grateful Deads, they all are a little bit different. They're not the same. He's not using a typeset. He's actually drawing original typesets and changing them up, as you can see on all these posters. And he uses photography and does photography collages and then mixes them with lettering. I like that style. It reminds me of light show artists. And I do light show art, so it's kind of like what we do. We'll mix like this mushroom motif over here on the left. We'll mix something like that and then do liquid lights around it. So he's really great. He's still around. We'll get to him on the next slide also. So here's another page of Singer. And there's a Grateful Dead, Jefferson Airplane, Quicksilver show I went to, the Chicago show at Fillmore West for the Skeleton. And then, of course, he was the guy picked to do the last 5 shows at the Fillmore West, and that's the final poster. And there's Santana, Creedence Clearwater, Grateful Dead, Quicksilver, Boss Skaggs, Hot Tuna. Pretty good lineup of bands. And so there he is. And he also is still doing posters, and he does a lot of work for a band called Moon Alice, which is Roger McNamee's jam band out of the San Francisco area. And Roger hires people to do the original poster artists and the new contemporary ones to do posters for every show he does. So we'll get into some of those later in the show here. So we got Lee Conklin, who's still around. There he is at the poster show signing posters. He did this early Yardbirds posters, one of the early shows, the old Fillmore. And he also did the Santana album cover back in 1969, which is amazing, beautiful, classic art. And you can see in this bottom row, New Year's Eve and Jefferson Airplane, and 10 years after, a Quicksilver Buddy Miles poster, and Abraxas behind me here. Just has really, really fine detail work, a lot of black line stuff in his artwork, and then adds nice colors to it. It's really great imagination. So here's another page for Lee. There's the octopus. He's got the Love, James Gang, and Black Sabbath show on the first Black Sabbath tour at the Fillmore. Great poster. Was at the show. He's got this Albert King, the Allman Brothers Hot Tuna show, Country Joe Terry Reid, Abraxas, Etta James at Maritime Hall. That's was in the 90s. So was the Abraxas. So he continued to do artwork, and he's got this incredible imagination and really does great graphic detail. Pretty an amazing artist. And he also has done stuff for Moon Alice, which is, Roger's hiring these guys, these artists, gives them the respect and uses them to do posters. So it's great. See who's next. So we've got Randy Tuten. There he is in the middle. The poster on the left is Fillmore West from the famous Live Dead album. That was that series of shows that was most of it was recorded at. One of the songs was recorded at Avalon. And then he did the Rolling Stones in 1969 tour, Alton Coliseum poster. I think that was the poster for the whole West Coast tour. Then he did the Rolling Stones at Winterland in 1972, the Exile on Main Street tour, which is up there, Tumbling Dice. So he was around. He did early stuff, and he started doing more commercial stuff for Bill Graham. He started doing all the advertisements for the newspaper, and that you would see, and like little flyers and stuff when they started getting away from the psychedelic stuff. So here is an example of that. Allman Brothers, Day in the Green, which was a giant outdoor Oakland Coliseum concert. Peter Frampton, Leonard Skinner, Santana, Outlaws. The Who and the Dead, on Day on the Green. Fleetwood Mac, Doobie Brothers, Gary Wright, The Tubes, 4th of July, Journey, Jay Giles, UFO, Thin Lizzy, Nazareth, David Bowie, Grateful Dead at Kezar Stadium with Led Zeppelin following week. So he did all, you can see he has a certain type of lettering that he does, especially on this Peter Frampton. And he does a lot of lettering. You'll see it on all the advertisements for Bill Graham and the posters. And he's continued to do work for Moon Alice and all the current Fillmore stuff. He does a good percentage of that. You can see his work hanging in the Fillmore all over the place. Basically, he was the main graphic artist for Bill Graham. for the whole 25 years Bill, or 30 years Bill ran his company. You can see the Led Zeppelin at Winterland with the Brotherhood of Light poster. This Crosby, Stills, Nash was at the Fillmore. I did that show with Crosby, Stills, Nash. And then Bill Graham's Memorial, Laughter, Love, and Music with all the bands from San Francisco. You know, Journey, Santana, Grateful Dead, Neil Young, Joe Satriani, John Fogerty, you know, you name it, Journey. They were there to honor Bill. It was 350,000 people at Golden Gate Park. And there's that poster. So it's pretty cool to see that Randy did that one to, you know, take care of his, honor his boss. So it's a kind of a classic. So kind of the era that I'm covering, which is the 60s through like the 90s. This book, Art of Rock, which I have a copy of right here. Art of Rock. I mean, it's a monster. It's, you know, many pages, all kinds of pictures of posters, and you open it up and just see posters everywhere. And I think it's 515 pages. So anyway, if you want a book that has all these posters in it, this is the one. So this page consists of a bunch of the same artists that I've shown. This is their modern work they've done, primarily hired by Roger McNamee to do the Moon Alice posters. So you can see there's a bunch of different ones, all kinds of festivals and shows they've done, and all the, you know, you've got Lee Conklin, you've got Mouse is in here, and you got everybody that's still alive basically, is except for the guy David Byrd, because he's on East Coast, but everybody else that's alive has posters in here. So I just wanted to show you that they're still doing stuff, and here's what they look like nowadays. They're still very psychedelic, but really clean, beautiful resolution, and some really awesome work. So you know, these guys are still alive and well and doing some great, beautiful art. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to sign off, and I'm just going to leave you with the final slide of the show, which is the intro slide. So we will see you go to this art thing happening on the 21st at the house in Golden Gate Park, and basically you can buy posters. Some of the artists will be there signing them. I used to go every year, but with COVID I don't think it's an annual thing. But they're definitely having it this year, this Saturday coming up. So check it out. Thanks. See ya.